Me? Me? No, it was you. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So, we do have the U.S. Championship going on right now. So I got the round 12 game between Aleksandr Lenderman and Wesley. So, coming at you. We have the Astros and the Yankees playing right now. Man, the Yankees or whatever. I think that's how you say the team's name or whatever. I don't know. It's not really memorable to me. But anyways, man, we're down 1-0 in the bottom of the second. But that's okay, man. The game ain't over yet. So don't be getting no ideas out there for those Yankees fans and stuff. Don't worry about all that. We're going to get it taken care of. We just got to run. Matter of fact, I just see it right here. Don't even worry about it, man. But let's get to the chess, man. So all my people that are coming from the Philippines, I will say mabuhay to you. Let me see. Magandang umaga. You are kind of coming up on afternoon. Magandang hapon. Almusal tayo for those of you getting some breakfast rolling. Maraming salamat. Posa na nunood inga king my video king my kaibigan. Thank you very much for stopping by. Anybody? Aleksandr Lenderman was born in Soviet Union in Leningrad in Russia. I will say a privyet and spasibo for coming by and taking a look at my stuff. I appreciate it very much. But if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, homie. So we got the move D4, and this is actually especially nice for me because I do play this myself, and I have a lot of understanding about this particular opening. So, I get to have a lot of my, positional understanding shine through this time. So we do have D5. We got knight to F3, knight to F6. We got the move C4, and then we do see the move E6. And it's a branching point. You have a lot of different things you can play, but we do see the Catalan, which I believe that the Catalan in that particular position is the strongest thing that you can play as white. Of course, a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to draw and all that stuff. Now, forget you. Quit all of that draw stuff, man. We're humans playing the game. We do see pawn taking C4. We got the move bishop to G2. And then you guys guessed it, the move C5. Now, it is slightly early to play it. It's a good time to play it, though. You do kind of want to play it. If you're going to go be aggressive like that, you do want the timing of C5 to be right now and I will show you exactly why. When we see the move C5, the absolute best thing to do if you're white is just castle. For those of you wondering why you don't take pawn here, basically, if you take this, black pretty much gets everything that they want. After the queen takes, the king takes, and you don't really want to be here. This is actually a really, really nice position for black. You have messed up your ability to castle, and you don't really want to go king to C2 to bring your rook over here like this. And you are kind of down a pawn at the moment. So, after the bishop takes here. You're just a little bit too compromised if you are the white side. So you do not want that. So that is why black is timing this C5 pawn push at this particular moment. Lenderman says, hey, man, I know all about that. I'm a castle. And then we do see the knight taking on C6. And then we actually see the knight going to E5 in this position. And you got to be a little bit careful because this bishop is now open. So we can see some bishop taking, some knight taking and some bishop taking here. You're kind of getting messed up as far as the king and the rook is concerned. Backing up, it was possible in this position to go pawn takes C5. And this is pretty much, you have to get castle first before you start taking pawns in the center of the board. And that's why, black is throwing all those pawns in the way. So after this position, you would see the queen taking D1, most likely. The rook would be taking D1, and then bishop would be taking C5. And you guys have seen this before. Knight B goes to D2. And then we do see that C3 pawn push there. Trying to say, man, if you're trying to get this pawn, it's going to come at a price. So you would be seeing this here. So backing up, like I said, the knight came to C6. We did see knight to E5. The bishop goes to D7, just protecting, not only developing, but protecting this knight as well. We do see knight going to D2. We are trying to get our pawn back at some point, though, homie, because we are down a pawn at the moment. So we do see pawn taking D4, and then the knight D takes on C4. We got bishop down to E7. We got queen over to B3. We got queen to C7. Knight takes C6. Bishop takes C6. And before we actually take on C6 with the bishop, we actually toss in bishop to F4, which is like a really beautiful developing move. You also have the knight, here, so there's no, E5 pawn pushes. And we are trying to knock this queen away so that we can isolate a pawn for black. We do see the bishop taking on C6 after the queen goes to D8. We do see pawn taking c6, and then we do see the move 95. But the thing about it is, I mean, black can actually hold on to the pawn in this particular situation because they do have the ability to push the move c5, which is what we see in the game. And after we see the move c5, we do see queen going to a4 with check, and then the king sliding over to f8. Black is messed up as far as castling is concerned, but I mean, you know, they really are just kind of up a pawn, though. You know, that's the thing about this particular, like, line of play for white. Even though it is very solid, you are giving away, you know, a pawn, you know, and you are a little bit better developed for sure. But, I mean, you know, it is a little bit risky. So we do see, and just to answer anybody's question, after the queen goes to a4 with check, you did have the ability to just back up the knight. This was a logical, you know, it wasn't like there was anything tactically wrong with it. You know, you can go knight back to d7, and this does, you know, protect things pretty well. The rook A would probably come to c1, and then you see the move f6, just forcing the issue. You know, probably want to go knight to c6, but you know, it's not really that bad of a situation to be, you know, to trade off your bishop because, like I said, you do have an extra pawn in this scenario. So, I mean, you're good to go. But like I said, we did see the king going to f8, and then we do see the move e3. The queen does go to e8. You know, black's mind is, even though, you know, it's not like super decisive, I mean, we can trade material here. You know, we're just kind of good to go if you want to go ahead and go about doing it that way. Also, you are getting yourself off of this, you know, forkable situation as well. Because, I mean, if you can keep the bishop, why not, right? So the queen does come up to a6, and this is actually the novelty of the game. This is the best move in a position. So, I mean, it's interesting how 2022 we just found queen to a6 in this particular opening. And then we do have the knight going to d5. You know, black is basically saying, I'm going to try to keep my pawn. I'm going to try to grab your bishop so I can have a bishop against the knight. And everything should be everything. Pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4. And the interesting thing about, you know, black's play is the fact that even though, you know, white is capturing all these pawns, making all these situations, they're really not isolating any of black's pawns. So basically, I mean, black is just up an entire pawn, like, for pretty much good. You know, if we can get to the point where we can push this pawn down, I mean, we do have a completely protected pass pawn in the center of the board. And I mean, everything should be a-okay. So we do see the move rook A to c1. We got the move g5, which is actually very aggressive. You know, it wasn't like it was better to take here with the knight. You know, you were going to probably have the king slide over, and you don't really have to worry about these light square weaknesses around the king, you know, because there's a dark square bishop. So, I mean, this kind of does allow black to, or white to preserve their bishop, you know, which is kind of what you want. You do kind of want a bishop in this particular situation. You do got some dark square questions around the king. I mean, you know, why not just save a bishop if you can, right? So the king goes to g7. We do see the queen down to d3. You know, we really, really want to get our pawn back, homie. You know, we don't want it to be a situation where, you know, we're just down a pawn forever, because then that's how you lose, right? So the rook does come over to c8 to fight black on this c file. We do see the queen going to d4. And we have to be kind of careful because, you know, this knight moving away does come with the discovery. But the good thing about the situation is we do have bishop covering here, so it wouldn't be that great of a discovery, and it's not a double check. So the rook does take on c1. The bishop takes on c1, which, I mean, you could have taken with either piece. I feel like one was better than the other. I'll get to that in a minute. The bishop does come to f6, like I said, just pretty much saving that king on that diagonal. The rook goes over to e1. We see queen down to e7. We see the move h4. And, I mean, you got to be a little bit careful in this position here, because you can't be sitting here thinking, man, I'm going to open the position up, bro. Like, I'm going to take here, and I'm going to take here, and, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to get the rook back, and I'm going to just step the king back, because you would be looking at some really nastiness if you did take on h4. You would be seeing the move queen to g4 with check. And, I mean, kind of where do you go? You know, if you're not trying to block with the bishop, which literally loses the bishop, you're going to have to back the king up to f8, and then you got bishop to a6 with check. The king would slide over. You got queen over to a4. You don't really have any good squares for the king to go to. You can only block with the queen, which, as you guys can see, I mean, that's a no-no. So, I mean, the king sliding over, and then you got knight to c6 with check. Don't do that, bro. Like, let's not do that. So, seeing all of this, of course, Wesley so said, bro, I'm a lakas, man. You know, I'm not like a weak dude. You know, I'm great. So he does, after h4, he does go h6. Just making sure that we protect everything and we're good to go. We do see pawn taking g5, pawn taking g5. We got bishop back to d2. Now, it is my personal opinion. I mean, it was slightly better to play this way. That rook taking c1 earlier on was just a little bit better because, like, we back up a little bit. Check this out. So, In this particular position, we got bishop taking, right? So that's one move, right? We get to this position where rook to e1 is another move. We got the queen down, pawn up, pawn takes, bishop goes back to d2. That's 3 moves, right? So, I mean, it's a subtle thing when you're looking at the position like, okay, that's like 3 moves, right? If we go back, though, if, you know, the rook takes here and we got the rook sliding over, not only do we get the rook on a completely open file, you know, we're going to be looking at bishop to f6, of course, for sure, still. But, I mean, it's like, you know, we kind of get, you know, almost all that we want. The queen is protecting this piece, you know, and so if you really need to, you can move the rook back over. But it's just like, you see how it kind of takes less moves to kind of achieve like a very similar position. This is a really, really nice position for white to be in. And the king is a little bit suspect over here. A little bit, just a touch. But, like I said, we did not see that. We saw this position here where the bishop went up to d2. We got the queen going over to b7. And, I mean, hey, man, you got to be a little bit careful, bro, because, man, this is checkmate if this knight moves. So you got to kind of do something to plug up that hole. So what we do see is rook up to e4. We got knight back to e7. And we pretty much are pinning this rook down because, like I said, if this rook shows up on h1 with the support of the queen, I mean, that's lights out, man. You got all these light square weaknesses going on, and you got that mating scenario coming up. So the bishop does come to c3. Knight goes to g6. And then we do see the move f3, pretty much blocking that mate now. So we do see the move rook over to c8. We got the move f4. Pawn takes f4, pawn takes f4. We got bishop taking e5, and then we do have pawn taking e5. And the only really unfortunate thing about this particular situation is it does kind of kill the bishop just a little bit. I mean, you really want this bishop to be just completely maximized on its diagonal, right? But right now, I mean, there's a gigantic pawn in front of it. Pawn's like, bro, you're not going anywhere, bro. Like, what are you doing? You want it to be like this. Check, and then mate, right? Anyway, so we do see the rook going over to h8. We see the queen down to e3. And we are protecting this pawn as much as you can humanly protect a pawn in this particular position. Black has no chance of taking that pawn. We do see the rook down to h5. We got the move a4. We got the queen going over to d5. Trying to infiltrate on d1. Like, what are you doing, bro? So we do see the queen going to d4. You know, it's pretty much similar for both players. I mean, if you trade, it's not really going to be better or great for either player, but you know, it is what it is. The queen goes back to a8. We do see the queen down to e3. The queen goes over to h8. And we actually have reached a position where there is only one good move for black to play. And Aleksandr Lenderman actually does not find this move. But there is only one move to play in this position. If you want to pause the video and try to see what that move is, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So, you know, there's something that you really have to be paying attention to. And it's like crazy because like you're thinking like, why do I have to pay attention to it right now? The problem that you have in the position is you can actually get your queen lost because this king is so wide open. So you have to be very, very careful about the move that you make. Now, you heard me mention before about this pawn being literally protected to death, right? It is actually overprotected at the time. So you actually have the ability to move a queen or a rook out of the way and still make sure that you're holding this pawn down at the moment. The most perfect move in the position is actually rook to g4. Now, what rook to g4 achieves, if you guess rook to g4, you'd be thinking pretty gangster because number one, you are pinning this knight down to this king. So, I mean, you wouldn't even take this pawn if you wanted to, even if you move the king back and expose the, you know, thing with the queen, right? It is not only pinning this knight down, but it is also protecting on this g file. And that is what you really, really need in the position because you know rook to h1 is coming. So after the move would come, the rook to h1 would check, the king would go to f2, the queen would go to h2 would check, and then you do have this rook to g2 defense attacking the queen. You're not worried about this because the queen's just going to step over. I mean, you got this square covered. Everything is good to go. You're still pinning this knight down. But the problem is, after queen to h8, what we actually saw in the game was king going over to f1. And the problem is this move completely loses the queen. That's why you see the bomb dropping like this. And it really doesn't matter what you do as white in this position. Now you've lost your queen. What we see in the game is rook to h1 with check. The king goes to e2. The queen goes down to h5 with check, and then the king goes to d3, and it is just an immediate loss of the queen. Rook to h3, pinning the queen to the king. It is in this position that Aleksandr Lenderman resigns the game. Because like I said, I mean, there's nothing really that you can do. Even if you guys probably, I know you guys out there, man, you guys are pretty gangster in the game right now, right? I think a lot of you guys are probably looking, slow the video down. You're like, man, hold on, queen to h5. Can I block with the queen on f3, right? That loses the queen also. If you go queen to f3, right, the thing that you have to remember is now the queen is undefended if not for the king. Rook going to h2 with check would force you up to e3. The only other way to protect the queen is this way, because you cannot move anywhere else, because the queen is just absolute. Well, of course you can't move here anyway. These squares just completely lose the queen. And this one loses the queen with check. So you have to go up here, and then it's pretty much the exact same thing, just on different squares. So, like I said, king to f1, your queen was bye-bye. Your king was way too open, and Wesley So played this pretty much to perfection, and he hooked up what he needed to hook up. So, after this game, Wesley So, he's playing really great. I mean, he's not like he's playing like bad, but I mean, is he playing enough to win the U.S. championships though? That's the question. And I mean, what's going on with this game with the Astros, homie? It is 1-1. So we neck and neck with y'all, so don't get no ideas, bro. But anyways, I appreciate you guys very much. Maraming salamat, the King Makaibigan. And I'll see you guys next time.